All right, strap yourselves in because today we are going deep into the world of Microsoft 365.
Oh, exciting.
Specifically, a website someone sent us, M365Pro's.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, just at first glance, this thing is a lot.
Yeah.
There's just so much information packed in here.
It is pretty dense.
Even for someone who, lives and breathes M365.
I mean, I think that's kind of the point, though, right? They're trying to be like that one-stop shop for like all your M365 needs.
Yeah.
Particularly for businesses. I'm noticing a lot of that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm seeing everything from, okay, how do I change my font in Word to how do I, set up some complex security thing.
Right, exactly.
It's kind of like that, that junk drawer you have in your kitchen.
Oh, yeah?
Where it's just like, well, I don't even know what's in here, but I'm sure I can find something useful.
You'll find something you need eventually in there.
But the question is, how do we find the good stuff in here? How do we actually use this site?
Well, I'm noticing right off the bat, they seem to be keeping up with all of the latest updates. For instance, they have an article titled, Welcome to the New Outlook.
Oh, interesting.
And then another one on virtual visits waiting room features. Clearly, they're trying to stay current.
That makes sense because Microsoft is always rolling out some new feature or update. It's really easy to fall behind.
It truly is.
But I'm curious, who do you think this site is really for? Who are they trying to reach with all of this? Is this like your everyday M365 user? Or is this more like for IT pros?
It's interesting because they have sections like What's Hot, People's Favorite, which seems to be geared towards maybe a more casual user. Like they just need a problem solved.
Right.
But then you'll also see articles about business premium licenses and, like strategic implementation.
So maybe they're just trying to catch everyone, from the person who just uses Word sometimes to someone who's actually running their business on M365.
Yeah.
And speaking of, throwing out a wide net, did you see this whole section on Copilot?
I did, yeah.
They even had this article titled, and this is a mouthful, Perfect, Your Prompt with Microsoft 365 Copilot. Unleash your productivity.
Oh, yeah. Copilot's a big one right now.
Big one. I mean, I'll admit, I'm a little intimidated by Copilot.
Yeah.
It seems like you can do so much, but I don't even know where to start.
Well, and that's what's cool about Copilot. It can do a lot, but the thing is, it's all about knowing how to talk to it.
It's like learning a whole new language.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
A language of robots.
Well, yeah, and this website actually gives you some tips. Like, for example, let's say you have a long, boring document and you want to summarize it. A lot of people would just be like, hey, Copilot, summarize this.
Right.
But you got to be specific, Give me a bullet point summary of the key takeaways focusing on X, Y, and Z.
Okay, so the more specific you are, the better.
Exactly. Just like talking to a person.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But I am seeing some articles on here that are a bit more basic, like just how to get end-user support.
Right.
And, how to set up multi-factor authentication, which I know we talk about all the time, but
yeah,
not everybody knows what that is.
Right. And they have a whole article here on, protect user accounts with multi-factor authentication, MFA 2024.
Yeah, it's good that they're acknowledging that not everyone is as, up to speed on all of the lingo and the jargon.
Totally.
It's good they're catering to those different levels.
And they do a really good job of that.
Yeah, for sure. And then speaking of catering to different levels, I'm looking at the latest articles section.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a post about how to add and delete users from an M365 subscription.
Oh, that's useful.
Which, how helpful is that for an administrator, especially maybe at a small business where
it could be super helpful.
Wearing all the hats.
I mean, think about it. You're a small business owner. You just want to run your business, right? Yeah. You don't want to spend hours trying to figure out how to add a new employee to your system. Exactly. And they give you those, step-by-step instructions on how to do that.
It's like having a virtual IT person on call.
Without having to pay them.
But without the big fees, yeah.
Exactly.
So we've established this site's a little all over the place, but
in a good way, though.
In a potentially good way.
It's got a little something for everyone.
Yeah, it's like that massive library where you might have to wander around a little bit to find what you're looking for.
Right.
But it's probably in there somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
Speaking of wandering around, did you see this article about resolving the dreaded Windows error code 0x800-0000005?
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one a few times. Ugh, that can be a pain.
Have you run into that one before?
I have. It can be a headache. A common cause is when a file gets corrupted during a Windows update. That's a real pain to fix, but thankfully they have this whole article that walks you through how to find and replace that corrupted file.
So it's not just about, like, throwing random solutions at you.
Six.
They're actually explaining the problem, which is nice.
It's all about giving you the tools to understand what's happening so you can fix it yourself.
Yeah.
It's about empowerment, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Rather than just, putting a Band-Aid on it.
So even though this site, it's not the prettiest,
It's not winning any design awards.
It's not winning any design awards, but
It's got the content.
it has the content. It's got the substance.
Right.
It's like, that friend who maybe isn't the most fashionable,
Oh, yeah.
but they're always there for you with, like, the right advice and a good book recommendation.
I like that analogy.
At the end of the day, it's about the content, right?
Exactly.
It's about having that trusted resource you can go to
For sure.
when you need help, when you need guidance. But let's be honest. There's a lot to unpack here. I mean, we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, we've only looked at a couple articles.
So stay tuned, because in part 2, we're going to delve even deeper into some of these specific articles and resources.
Sounds good.
And see what other kind of gems we can uncover.
All right, looking forward to it.
Okay, welcome back to our deep dive into this interesting little website, M365Pro's.com.
It's a quirky one for sure.
It is quirky, but you know what? As we're kind of getting deeper into it,
Yeah,
I'm starting to realize that they really are trying to empower people
I think so too.
to actually use M365, not just be intimidated by it.
Definitely.
There's a lot of actual practical advice in here.
Yeah.
Speaking of practical advice, I'm thinking about that whole Copilot section. We talked about how, you got to learn that new language of prompts.
Right.
But can you give me, like, a real-world example? How does that actually play out?
Absolutely. Let's say you have, one of those emails that's like 17 paragraphs long.
Oh, I know those emails.
And it just rambles on and on.
Yeah.
You could actually ask Copilot to summarize that for you.
Could you really?
But instead of just saying, hey, summarize this email, you could say, give me the 3 most important action items from this email.
Oh, so it's got to be specific?
Exactly. You got to be specific with it.
Okay.
Think of it as like you're training a puppy.
That's a good analogy.
The more you work with Copilot, the more it gets to know you and how you work and what you're looking for.
Okay.
And I think that's what this website does really well. It gives you those examples of those prompts, those real-world scenarios, so that you're not just, throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right. You're not just randomly typing things in.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm starting to see the potential here.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the business side of things, because we touched on it earlier.
Okay.
But there are a lot of articles on here that are really geared towards, businesses using M365.
There are a lot.
I'm thinking specifically about this one. I'm going to try to say this whole title. Common FAQs on Microsoft Business Premium Licenses 2024.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that one.
I feel like that could be so valuable for a business owner.
Super valuable.
I was just trying to figure out, like, what license do I need?
Oh, for sure. Microsoft licensing can be really confusing.
It's like it's its own language.
It really is. They have so many different plans and options.
Yeah.
And this article does a great job of breaking it down.
Yeah.
Like really simply. And they even provide those comparison charts.
Oh, nice.
To show you, okay, this is what's included in business standard versus business premium.
So helpful.
So you can really see, what you're getting for your money.
Okay.
Which plan makes sense for your business.
It's like having a consultant on call.
But without the expensive hourly rate.
But way cheaper. Yeah.
And they even talk about, like, those common questions businesses have. Like what happens if I need to add a user? Or remove a user from my plan? What if I need support? All those practical questions.
Oh, that's so good.
That business owners have.
Yeah, because you don't want to be like, 3 months into your business and be like, oh, wait, how do I do this?
Exactly.
So they're thinking about all those little details. But I'm also seeing articles that are a bit more strategic.
Like what?
Like this titled Empowering Business Excellence, the Strategic Shift to Microsoft 365.
Ooh, that one's a good one.
I feel like that one kind of takes a step back from the day-to-day and is like, okay, but how can you really use this platform to its full advantage?
Totally. It's easy to get caught up in the weeds of how do I create a Word document or how do I send an email?
Right.
But this article talks about how businesses can use M365 to really transform the way they work.
Oh, wow.
Like how they can use Teams to foster collaboration, how they can use Power Automate to automate workflows.
Oh, that's cool.
How they can use SharePoint to create like a central hub for knowledge sharing. It's really about that big picture thinking, using M365 strategically.
And I think that's kind of where this site shines, you know?
I agree.
It's not just about fixing problems. It's about helping you really master this platform. And it's not just for individuals. It's for businesses as well.
Absolutely.
And, one thing I almost forgot about
What's that?
is the community aspect of this site.
Oh, right. The comments.
They have comment sections on pretty much all these articles.
Yeah, they do.
And they're active.
They are. Like, you'll see people actually, sharing their own experiences, offering additional tips.
Oh, wow.
And even helping each other troubleshoot problems.
It's like a whole little support group.
It is, and it just goes to show you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
Everyone has challenges with M365.
Right.
And everyone's got their own little tips and tricks and workarounds. And it's great to see that, that sharing of knowledge.
I'm going to admit something.
What's that?
I was a little skeptical of this website at first.
I get it. It's not the prettiest.
It's not the prettiest. It's not the most user-friendly.
It does have that, old school internet vibe.
It really does.
But it's got the content.
But you know what? The more we dig into it,
yeah,
the more I appreciate it.
Damn.
I appreciate how deep it goes. I appreciate its commitment to actually giving good information to users.
Totally. It really delivers on its promise.
Yeah. It does.
Even if it doesn't look the prettiest while doing it.
Well said. Well said.
And, it's a good reminder that sometimes the best resources aren't always the most obvious ones.
That is very true.
You got to be willing to dig a little deeper to find those hidden gems.
And I think that's a perfect segue into the last part of our deep dive.
Okay. Yeah.
We've explored the good, the bad, the ugly, the quirky, the whatever of this website.
We've seen all its sides.
We've seen how it can actually be a valuable resource, whether you're just using M365 for personal stuff or you're running a business on it.
Yeah.
So stick around because we are going to wrap things up and share our final thoughts on this little treasure trove of M365 knowledge. And we're back for the grand finale of our deep dive into M365Pro's.com.
It's been a journey.
It really has. One thing that has really stuck with me is how much this site seems to emphasize, empowering users.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about giving you the answer.
Right.
It's about teaching you how to find it yourself.
Exactly. Giving you the tools.
For example, that article about error code, what was it, 0x800 0000?
Yeah, that one.
It doesn't just say, oh, here's how you fix it.
It actually explains, what's happening.
It explains why it's happening, which
Yeah.
I think is so helpful.
It is, because then you can understand. Okay, I can prevent this from happening again.
Exactly. Exactly. And that seems to be their approach across the board.
I think so.
Whether it's, a basic how-to guide or some complex business thing.
They want to make you feel confident.
Yeah, confident that you can use M365.
That you can handle it.
That you're not just going to break everything.
Exactly, because it can be intimidating, right?
Oh, for sure.
All these updates, all these features, it's hard to keep up.
It really is. Speaking of keeping up, we've talked a lot about Copilot. And I'll admit, I was super skeptical at first.
I get it.
I thought it was another shiny new tech toy,
Yeah.
But the more I learn about it, the more I see how it can actually be useful.
It can be a game changer.
And this website really emphasizes that. You got to learn how to use it properly.
Oh, yeah. You can't just, expect it to read your mind.
It's not magic.
I have to be specific, with those prompts.
Right.
Tell it exactly what you want.
It's like that human-AI partnership.
Exactly.
Where, you're still in control.
You're the one driving.
But you're using this amazing tool.
To make your life easier.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that this website is really embracing that whole, future of work.
Yeah, they're not shying away from it.
They're like, this is happening. Let's figure it out together.
So, thinking back to our first impression of this site, kind of a mess, right?
A little chaotic.
But once you get past that,
yeah,
there is some really good stuff in here.
There's a lot of gold to be mined.
It's like that saying, don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
Sometimes the most valuable resources, they're not the flashiest ones.
They're not prettiest. They're not the most well-known.
But they get the job done.
They do.
So I guess the takeaway here is, when it comes to the world of M365, don't be afraid to explore.
Don't be afraid to get a little lost.
Get a little lost, yeah.
Because sometimes the best discoveries are the ones you weren't expecting.
To the listener who sent us this site, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
This was a fun one to explore.
It was. I learned a few things.
Me too, me too.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, keep exploring.
Stay curious.
Keep learning.
And we'll see you next time.